What is going on, everybody? Welcome to what is one of my favorite videos every year, my full NFL playoff predictions video. Before we hop in, please do hit that like button if you enjoy. Even if you disagree or if you're mad I didn't pick your team, only one team can go all the way. I don't hate your team just because I didn't pick them. So please do hit that like button if you want to support the channel. Also, another quick and easy way to support the channel: the next time you're shopping for tickets, use promo code FranchiseGuy and shop on SeatGeek, where you're gonna get the best prices, the best user interface anyway. So support the channel, save $20 on your first purchase using promo code FranchiseGuy. All right, let's get right into it here. Starting in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. Feels like we've seen this matchup a few times. Right now, the Saints, you can make a case, are the hottest and healthiest team heading into the playoffs, which bodes well for them. Unfortunately, they did fall to the 3 seed despite winning 13 games this year. As for the Vikings, they're kind of stumbling their way into the playoffs. A couple of kind of bad losses back to back. They're beat up. So really this one's pretty easy for me. I don't see the Saints stumbling too much in this one. I think they will take care of business 31-20. The Vikings are a good football team. We'll see if they get Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen in there healthy. That could be kind of an X factor for them if they were to play some crazy spoiler here. You know, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities for the Vikings to win this one, but it does seem pretty unlikely, and I think the Saints are going to want to take advantage of this home game before they potentially have to go on the road here. So I'm going to take the Saints pretty handedly here, 31-20. But again, that one might be a little closer than we expect. Seattle at Philadelphia, the other NFC game this weekend. We saw this matchup earlier in the season, and the Seahawks won pretty handedly. Now, both teams have changed quite a bit in that time. The Seahawks have suffered just a league of injuries at the running back position. Their left tackle's out, and then the Eagles are just decimated by injury. But the one difference here is the Eagles are a much different looking offense. When the Seahawks got them earlier this year, the Eagles were really trying to figure out what they want to do on offense, basically with a bunch of practice squad wide receivers because of all the injuries they've had at that position. And since then, Carson Wentz has really turned around his game, and this offense looks like a different unit and a different team. And the big matchup in this game for me is going to be Philly's D-line against that Seahawks offensive line that is just hot butter that I think the Eagles are going to have an easy time carving through. So when I really look at these rosters, they're very similar. I do think Russell Wilson is the better quarterback than Carson Wentz, though Wentz is playing better lately. Obviously, Seahawks receivers are going to have the advantage against the Eagles secondary, but with the stubborn Pete Carroll there, how much passing do they actually have here? Do they run Marshawn Lynch into a brick wall, similar to what they try to do against a very good 49ers defensive line? Now, in Seattle, the Seahawks were able to rally and almost beat the 49ers, but it's hard to rely on those types of magic efforts by Russell Wilson on a week-to-week basis, especially when they got to go on the road against a Philadelphia team that is very beat up. They've had a rough season, but just like last year, proved against one of the hype teams in the Chicago Bears that they have the playoff experience and the talent on their roster to play spoiler. And this time they have Carson Wentz on their side to help them do that. So I am actually going to go on a limb here and take the upset. I'm assuming this will be an upset, by the way. I have not looked at the spreads. But I'm going to take the Eagles to win 21-20. So I'm not saying this is any kind of lock. But I'm just going to take the home team here with the line play advantage and obviously home field advantage and the kind of hotter team right now as well. So moving on to the AFC here, Tennessee at New England. This is going to be a fun game to pick. Obviously, you got New England. A lot of people kind of hoping that this is the end of an era here. They just lost the 2 seed by losing to the Miami Dolphins of all teams. Could this be Tom Brady's last game of his career? I don't know so much about that. I won't get into that, but it's going to be a fun game to pick. Tennessee's been a hype team this year. Ryan Tannehill sparking this entire team, who ironically was one of the most boring teams to watch about mid-season, they put in Tannehill. All of a sudden, they're flying the ball all over the place. Receivers are making plays. Derrick Henry finally decides to play like a 245-pound running back instead of playing like Matt Breida out there. So the Titans are explosive and do have the better offense in this game. Now, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit here. Yeah, New England lost to Miami, but it is playoff football in Foxborough, and that does count for something. You got the Tom Brady factor. You got the Bill Belichick factor. It could be scrappy, just like a lot of Patriots games this year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fireworks in this game. I don't see the Patriots offense waking up and lighting up a pretty solid Titans defense, whose biggest weakness is their secondary, but obviously New England's weakness is their wide receivers, so they're not going to really take advantage of that. And then New England's defense, I think, is going to have a lot of success against Ryan Tannehill, as explosive as they've looked. Might give up a couple of big plays here or there, but it's a team that plays bend, don't break defense. And I just think that New England's experience in this one is going to be a little bit too much for Tennessee. Now, I think it's scrappy. If you want to take Tennessee to win this one, I wouldn't hold it against you, but I'm going to go with New England in this one, 13-18 Patriots. Buffalo at Houston, pretty simple one for me. Bills fans are probably tired of hearing about it, but I just don't trust this offense. I've defended Josh Allen in the past, but other than him to John Brown, what does this offense really do that scares you? And it feels like week after week after week, no matter who they're playing, they're going to score 16 points and try to win with their defense. And I like the Bills' defense, but this Bills team's like a worse version of last year's Bears team that got bounced in the first round because they could only score 16 points. So, to me, Houston has the receivers to attack the Bills' biggest strength in their secondary. They have a clear-cut advantage at quarterback and home field advantage. Pretty clear, easy pick here. I'm going to take the Texans 27-16. I don't think it's going to be all that close. Would take a couple of Deshaun Watson turnovers, most likely, for the Bills to win this one. Now, every year I get like 10 comments. This team wouldn't play that team. You got it wrong. No, remember, in the NFL, the highest seed gets to play the lowest seed, so they don't just follow the path like the NCAA tournament, so do keep that in mind. So next up in the NFC, we've got Philadelphia at San Francisco. This one's a little easier than the Eagles Seahawks game. The Seahawks roster-wise are much closer to what the Eagles are rolling out there right now. As for the 49ers, they are one of the most well-rounded teams in the league at any position you want to look at. And they're at home here. They are rolling. Now, they're a little beat up, but the Eagles are even more beat up. So this one's pretty clear for me. I don't think we're going to get a lot of disagreement here. I'm going to go 30-13. The San Francisco 49ers going to advance to the NFC Championship. Then next up, we got New Orleans at Green Bay. This is going to be one of the battles of the entire playoffs, I think. Now, I do think New Orleans is a much better team. But going into Lambeau for a team that has not really played a lot of outdoor cold weather games, it's kind of a cliche, but I do think there's a little bit of something to be said about Drew Brees, who doesn't have a rocket arm, going out in the cold. I do think it's a factor. It's probably an overstated element, but in this type of situation, I think it is worth noting. But Brees has been the better quarterback than Rodgers this year. The offensive lines are both very good. That's kind of a push. And then as far as the playmakers and just kind of the offense as a whole, New Orleans just has a much better offense. Now, Green Bay does have Devontae Adams, but they don't run their offense through their number one receiver like the Saints are comfortable doing with Michael Thomas. And then, the Saints actually have competent options outside of Michael Thomas, whereas Green Bay is rolling out a bunch of practice squad guys, basically. And then defensively, both teams have very good defenses. I actually like Green Bay's pass rush, but they're going to get neutralized a little bit by New Orleans' offensive line. New Orleans actually has NFL caliber linebackers on their roster, unlike the Green Bay Packers, and then New Orleans has an outstanding, talented, deep secondary that's honestly, in my opinion, going to just take a dump on whatever the Packers are calling wide receivers outside of Devontae Adams right now. So it's going to be tough. You do have that home field advantage factor. Saints would love to be playing this game at home instead of at Lambeau, but to me, they're just such a better team than the Green Bay Packers, so much more well-rounded, more playoff experience with this unit. You really are relying on maybe a Jimmy Graham revenge game or Aaron Rodgers looking like his old self for Green Bay to win this one, and that's just very difficult to predict. Now, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good game, but I am going to take the Saints to advance here 26-23 in what could go down as one of the best games of these playoffs. Then on to the AFC side, we got Houston at Baltimore. We saw this matchup earlier in the year, and it's hard to see too many reasons why it's going to be that much different. Maybe J.J. Watt comes out and has the game of his life and returns from the grave in this one and makes a major difference. I don't even think that would be enough to swing this one. Now, Deshaun Watson played really bad in that game against the Ravens earlier. I don't expect that to happen. I think the Texans offense has a little more success, but I look at the physicality of this Ravens team, the home field factor, just lighten up a really bad Texans defense. I think this one, it could be a game that gets out of control pretty early. Houston kind of scraps their way back and makes it look closer than it ever was. I'm going to go 30-24 Baltimore. I think Baltimore's just too much to handle for the Houston Texans. New England at Kansas City. This is going to be like that Saints-Packers game. I think one of the games of the entire playoffs. It feels like every time these guys square off, no matter what the state of the team is, it turns into a classic, and I kind of expect that again. Now, the Patriots offense has struggled a lot, but they've been a little better lately, and the Chiefs defense, to me, has played great lately, but it might be a little bit of a sham. They're a good defense, don't get me wrong, but I think the Patriots are going to be able to move the ball a little bit in this game. And then the Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes kind of getting rolling a little bit here. A huge advantage to flip this around, get to play at home where they're going to be able to do what they want to do on offense a lot more simply without the crowd noise. While the roster talent in this game is a clear tilt toward the Kansas City Chiefs, I just don't think the Patriots are going to just lay down and get bullied over by the Chiefs, who they've shown they actually match up pretty well with. But ultimately, I do think Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, this offense, getting the run game going a little bit lately, is going to be too much for the Patriots to keep up with. But I do think it's going to be closer, and I think it's going to be higher scoring than some people might think. I'm going to go 30-27 in this one, and the Chiefs are going to advance to the AFC Championship. All right, on to the championship round here. New Orleans at San Francisco. We saw this game earlier in the year. It was an absolute bloodbath, and I don't expect it to be too much different here in San Francisco this time. Now, there are some injury factors here on the Niners side of things. Dee Ford is beat up. I heard Quan Alexander has a chance to return. I know Jimmy Ward got hurt in that Seahawks game. Their offensive line's been a little beat up. So there's some elements of how, are the Niners at full force in this game? The Saints are pretty damn healthy right now. So that will play a factor in a game that, just like we saw before, should be one of those just electric games that comes down to who has the ball last. The home field tilt for the Niners is very nice. You also give the Niners a slight tilt because they won this game before, but that was one of those games that was just who had the ball last. Ultimately, I am going to take the San Francisco 49ers in this game. I think Kyle Shanahan's play calling, with the versatility of this offense paired with this pass rush and how this defense is playing, just gives them an ever so slight nod in this one. So I'm going to take the Niners 31-26, a game that could go either way. Both these teams are completely worthy of representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. It's hard to kind of separate these teams because they're both probably the two most well-balanced teams as far as can run the ball, can throw the ball, and play dominant defense. So coin toss game to me. I'm going to take the Niners. Let's move on to the AFC. Kansas City at Baltimore. Now, we saw this game earlier on in the year, and the Chiefs with Steve Spagnuolo and a defense that's actually come a long way since. Now, so have the Ravens offense. But the Chiefs, as I break down Lamar Jackson's season, were one of few teams that actually understood that the Ravens are going to go to Mark Andrews on third down more often than not. And they had a really good game plan to take him away, double him almost all the time on third down. And it did lead to a lot of difficulties for the Ravens passing game. And when you're playing Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in a run game that's getting going, Mecole Hardman maybe gets more involved as the season continues to go on here. As good as the Ravens defense has been, they're not going to be able to just get up early and run this option script and just punch you in the mouth like they've really been able to do against a lot of teams this year that they've had a lot of success with. So when I look at this game, it comes down to third, fourth quarter, turns into a more traditional looking game script, and I'm going to take the better quarterback as far as a passer, the offense that's more comfortable in those situations, a better pass rush in Kansas City, and the better receivers in Kansas City as well. And I don't know if you could say better play caller, but in that type of game script, I would definitely take Andy Reid versus the Ravens, who are great play callers, but more so in respects to, their triple option run game. Now, I can totally picture a world where the physicality of the Ravens at home is too much for the Chiefs, but I don't think it's a team that's ready to get pushed over like that. I think they've shown a lot in the last 2 months of this season. They've overcome a lot of adversity this season and are a team that's really getting hot and healthy heading into the playoffs and are going to surprise some people here. So I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs 24-20. So we're going to get a Super Bowl matchup that not many people have really talked about being the potential matchup, Kansas City at San Francisco. One matchup that we have not seen this year. You got to go back to week 2 of last year when Jimmy Garoppolo went out for the year, last time these two teams played. And I'm thinking fireworks in this game. I'm seeing a Niners defense that's good, but it's going to have a hard time really slowing down the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, as would pretty much anyone. And then the Chiefs defense that's been better, having a really hard time against Kyle Shanahan's play calling and all the versatility they've got there. I love what they're doing, not just with George Kittle, not just with the run game, but now with Deebo Samuel becoming one of the hardest players to stop in the league because of all the different things they do with them. They'll line him up at tight end, wide receiver, obviously halfback. Like, they just get him going. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's explosive. You got Emmanuel Sanders. I think Shanahan is just on another level right now as a play caller. He always has been, but he's got all the pieces in place. So I'm thinking fireworks in this game. Definitely one of those games like that Niners-Saints game earlier this year that's going to come down to who gets the ball last. So really flip a coin. My gut tells me the Niners in this game. I said a coin flip, but I do trust the Niners defense actually to be the team that can come away with maybe a strip sack or force a turnover or something in the third, fourth quarter to get the win in this one. So congratulations, Niners fans. I'm taking you. You thought I hated you like week 3 through 7 when I was hesitant to put you number 1 in the power rankings. Well, back in January, I said this team at 45-1 was the best bet, the best investment in America to make. So I'm going to stand by that one right there. I think the Niners are just red hot heading into the playoffs with a lot to prove, and they will be my pick to win Super Bowl 54. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you hit that like button if you did. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications as we head into draft season so you don't miss any of my draft content out there. And then let me know in the comments below who you're picking to win the Super Bowl this year, what you think of my picks. Keep it classy down there. All right, guys. Cheers as always. We'll see you later. Peace.